throughout the years in different console generations, there are a lot of great games made that define that console or that console generation, but are then lost to time. However, a lot of games, specifically Nintendo games, are remade on newer consoles so that they can be loved again by a whole new audience. In today's video, I'll be breaking down the 5 games that I think are most deserving of a remake on the Nintendo Switch 2. The first game on our list is Kid Icarus Uprising. Now, Kid Icarus is a series of 3 different games, however we haven't seen anything since the 3DS. Now, Kid Icarus Uprising was different from the first 2, and was a very well-received game. Sakurai, the creator of Smash Bros. And Kirby, was the lead developer, and you could tell that he poured his heart and soul into this game. However, we haven't gotten anything for the Kid Icarus series since, and most kids today only know the characters through their inclusion in the Super Smash Bros. Series. I definitely think Kid Icarus is deserving of another title in its series, but I think similar to what they are doing with Star Fox, it would make the most sense to first revive the series by remaking one of its key games on the Nintendo Switch 2, and then possibly releasing a new game in the future. However, I do not expect to see a remake of Kid Icarus Uprising for a long time, due to Sakurai just finishing up Kirby Air Riders and likely working on the next Smash Bros. Game, which will also likely have DLC, all meaning that we probably will not get this remake, if possible, until way later in the console's generation. Next on the list is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Now, we already have rumors of an Ocarina of Time remake on the Switch 2. However, I personally would rather have them remake The Wind Waker. Out of all the Zelda games, The Wind Waker is the one that I most want to play. However, I really like having all my games physical, so I would love a physical copy on the Switch 2. Now, I think out of all the games, this one is by far the least likely to get a remake, as it already got remade for the Wii U, as well as being playable on the Nintendo GameCube Virtual Consoles for the Nintendo Switch Online subscription. However, I still think it is a possibility that we could get this later down the line if they want to remake another key game in the Zelda franchise. The next game I want to talk about is Banjo-Kazooie, another game series who is mainly only known for Super Smash Bros. Banjo-Kazooie is a 3D platformer very similar to Mario, where you go around collecting puzzle pieces and unlocking various skills. Now, the series only got 3 installments, likely due to not having a lot of places to go after the sequel. In the sequel, you kept all the abilities you unlocked in the first game, meaning that they had to invent a lot of new mechanics and new abilities to unlock. In the third game, they kind of went back to having no abilities at the start. However, after the third game in the series, they continued not to make any more. I don't know if Banjo-Kazooie would be deserving of a whole new title on Switch, but I would definitely like to see the original remade. Next up is Golden Sun, which is an RPG released on the Game Boy Advance. Now, RPGs are one of my favorite genres, and I've heard a lot about Golden Sun over the last couple years, and Isaac, the main character of that game, would be my pick for the next retro character to join Super Smash Bros. He already has a Mii costume in that game. If he was included in the next Smash Bros. Game, it would be a great way to gain popularity for the franchise, along with remaking the game on Switch 2, so that a new generation of Nintendo fans could experience the same joy that others did with the original on the Game Boy Advance. The last game I want to talk about is Yokai Watch, which already has a remake on Switch, however it only released on the Japanese eShop. The Yokai Watch series is very similar to Pokemon, however it has a lot of differences. In this game, battle with Japanese spirits called yokai, and instead of catching them, you have the chance to befriend them and earn their Yokai Watch medals. I played all 3 games as a kid, and they were very fun. However, the 4th game in the series never got a Western release, and the series quickly died after due to not experiencing the same sales it once did. Which is very disappointing, as this was a beloved game in the 3DS era. However, its low sales were likely due to the fact that it took a long time to localize the game and get them in languages other than Japanese. The 3rd installment in the series ended up releasing in 2019 for the 3DS, years after the Switch had already been released, so not many people were buying a 3DS game at that time. However, I definitely think that if you remake the original Yokai Watch 1, or simply just port it over in the same way you did the Japanese version, it would get a lot more people into this series, and could mean that we could finally get a localized version of Yokai Watch 4, perhaps a new game in the franchise. Thank you for watching this video, and let me know in the comments what games you hope get a remake on Switch 2. Have a great rest of your day. Sincerely, Switch.